Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first sprint race of the season. Still trying to make sure everything gets sorted, and we see rain. I wonder how many sessions are going to be wet like this. But here we are, round 4 of the Can-Am season. Season 9, this is Tier 1. We've been covering it every week. It's good to have a stream, and will be our first session that features any rain, so possibly shaking up the grid. The cars have our format. The cars have fitted inters. We'll go through the driver lineup. Yuppie is out, as well as Goat. Aston Martin has found a reserve. So starting from the left down, we have Vivoda, Lucid, Seth, who is a reserve filling in for Goat, Cloud City, who's Cloud, MK7 Hitch, who's Hitch, Anime Boy is Anime, YSL Buddha is Buddha, 50 and 07 is Heatley, a new driver, Alex Carugo, we're just going to call him Caruso. He is driving for Haas as a full-time seat this season. Coach Fantasy is Coach, Mini Squatch is Squatch, Final Flame is Flame, Forever Slick is Josh, Mel Gibson is Mel, EXO is Dave or David, Matt Man is Matt, The Gronk is Gronk, Dismal Games is Dismal, and Kryptonic Swang is Kryptonic. Now, let's try and figure out what driver is leaving the pits first. That's Seth, who is a reserve for Goat, who I'm pretty sure was second in the championship before this week. So it looks like this is going to be a wet qualifying session, but it should be dry in every other session, is what I'm hearing. So this will be the only session that features rain, and that the times are a little bit different. So it's going to be pretty interesting here. I was kind of hoping that it keeps raining for this session, just so that we can see what the times are like for the wet tires, but it is not raining very much, so it definitely could dry up pretty quickly, and then we could see time start flying down on inters, or we could even see the slicks at some point. But in the sprint qualifying, there's only 12 minutes. So drivers are going to have to be quick to get out and maybe do a couple runs, maybe have a little bit higher of a fuel load, as Seth does open his DRS, so it is raining, but not enough to where DRS is disabled. That's going to give him quite the advantage here, and if DRS is disabled, then he might end up being on pole simply because he can get that rear wing open, as we have a caution in Sector 2. Looks like just a driver getting out of the way here. We're going to stay on board with Seth, obviously purple sector. Through the rain here, it looks like it's getting a little more wet. DRS could be disabled at any point. This is definitely adding a little bit of drama to the session here, as some drivers still haven't even left the pits. If they don't get a lap with DRS, then they're going to be much, much slower, especially if the track is getting more and more wet. And Brazil is definitely not the longest of tracks and not the widest of tracks, so traffic definitely could play a role in some of these laps here. We're going to see Seth cross the line first. Another caution. Looks like someone just getting out of the way once again. Seth's race to the line does get that DRS open, and he goes a 1:16.1, and we'll have to see how good that is based on everyone else coming across the line. We have Dave, who goes a 17.2. Lucid, we do have a Mercedes coming across, and that's Gronk going a 15.5. Now Cloud going a 15.1. So, okay, these times are just all over the place. I'm not sure what's good and what's bad as Matt goes 17.2, only 2 thousandths behind Dave Mell, who's been known to be good in the rain, goes a 16.9. Voda a 19.8. Maybe a mistake there. Let's go find someone to ride on board with. Looks like Buddha is around. We just caught that Squatch in 5th. Caruso coming out. Heatley coming out as well. We have another caution somewhere on the track. Looks like the Red Bulls. Kryptonic, it'll be interesting to see how he is in the rain. He's definitely been an interesting rookie to watch and got unlucky in Hungary, but has some rapid pace and some good finishes to go along with that pace, as we've got a couple more people crossing the line. Lucid with a 15.3, Flame with a 16.8, both in the top 10, as we only have 10 finishers. As Kryptonic looks to get a little loose. Green tires matching his Kick Sauber green car. DRS still enabled. Very interesting session as he goes to 16.3. That's good enough for 5th. DRS is open, but it is raining, and it looks like the Inters are the faster tire. I mean, this is... You might not see another session like this. DRS in the slightest of rains. And Flame going a 15.9. The track may be drying up a little bit. As Coach races to the line, this is going to be a good time. A 16.4. That puts him 7th. A good result for Coach if it stands. We've got a couple people still in the pits. Maybe waiting for the track to dry up. I'm not too sure. Trying to get the last lap, but you'd almost think you could just put a little bit of extra fuel in the car, as there looks to be a Williams around on the minimap. You can put a little extra fuel in the car and then just run a couple laps as Heatley drifts the car through the end of Sector 2 going into Sector 3 here, which is practically just a drag race to the finish line here. Goes around the last technical corner of the track, neat and tidy. And here we go as DRS is activated for Heatley, and this is going to be a 17.2, which is only good enough for 11th behind his teammate, as Matt goes a 15.3 all the way up into 3rd. That would be quite the result for him, as Caruso on his debut race getting to the line in 17.9, almost at an 18, so that's good enough for 14th, just above Voda, but probably him and Voda making a bit of a mistake on their laps. They'll be looking to improve. Dismal on his first lap here in 19th as of now. But getting through Sector 2 here, and it looks like it's pretty comparable splits, but does go purple on the track map, so maybe a good time incoming for Dismal. It's not sure if Gronk improved on his provisional pole time, but I'm not sure if I saw a 14 before. 14.6 provisional pole, almost 5/10 up, but Dismal does him one better. A 13.9, the first driver to enter the 13s, and this track is rapidly improving. It's going to be about can you time your lap, as Anime Boy does go flying off the track. Doesn't invalidate, though, but did have a purple Sector 1. So it'll be interesting to see how the track evolves through this session. Definitely getting faster, and now Anime into the wall. We missed that. Every single driver is in the pits now. We've only got 3 minutes to go. There's only a couple people, and as I was talking and Dismal did his lap, Heatley up into P2 with a 14.2. So again, the track improving, but almost no one on an outlap, and now Kryptonic is on the soft tires. Has it gotten dry enough at the very end of this session to put in a lap on slicks? Are we going to see the field go absolutely crazy through this last 2 minutes? Every single driver, if they get a lap together on slicks, will be quicker than their intermediate lap. And we see a couple drivers going out now. You only probably need about a minute and a half to get out there and get across the line last. 3 drivers haven't set a time. That's the Williams drivers of Anime and Buddha, and Hitch has yet to set a time. Kryptonic across the line. We're going to watch his lap with anticipation on how he can handle it on these slick tires, taking a little bit of a gamble, but it doesn't look like the rain is coming down anymore, and does not look like he's pushing this lap. Maybe just trying to keep the tires warm. As we see Flame retire from the session. Not sure if it was in the pits or not, but he ends up with a 15.9, but he could go tumbling down the order if these soft tires really can make it happen, or maybe he went out on the intermediate tires and knew it wasn't the right move and retired. I'm not sure what happened there, but we're on board with Coach, who is already a second and a half down through Sector 1. And look at the track. It looks still a little wet. As you can see in F125's graphics, it's kind of that white, kind of light gray tinge to the track. Signifies that it's still wet. Heatley goes at 12.6, which is provisional pole. And now Vavoda with a 109.7. Heatley is going to go flying down the order. He's not going to be able to put on slicks. The slick time is 3 seconds faster from Vavoda, so it's really just a race to the line to see who can get across with the slick tires. And Coach now coming across the line. It's going to be a 9-1, which is a provisional pole. I feel like I'm going to be saying that quite a bit now with all these drivers improving their times. Cloud is on an invalid lap, and he needs to get across the line in about the next 30 seconds. It looks like he will. Matt down on his time as well. Everyone's going to be down on their time, but if someone invalidates, they're going to go flying down the order. It looks like Gronk is off the track, and there's a caution. A 14.6 is going to be his final time. Seth goes provisional pole with a 107.9. Dave with a 109.0 up into second, and Aston Martin front row. But again, it's not going to last because a lot of drivers have yet to cross the line. Seth still in pole. Hitch goes P2, so he's not going to be pole for the first time this season. Kryptonic goes provisional pole with a 107.7. Matt P4 right now, but this order is still yet to see a lot of changes as Mel retires from the session. He'll have a 109.5 as his time. Lucid into P4 with a 108.5. Hitch down in third. It's going to be a second row start from him. Coach ends up finishing. Dismal is on a lap. We're going to be keeping our eyes glued to the timing sheet as Squatch has finished as well with a 16.5, still his wet time. Buddha as well, not getting a lap time across as Caruso goes a 112.5. Cloud now provisional pole with a 107.55. And can Dismal make it a front row lockout for McLaren? And no, does go P5 though. Still a good time there and inches away from putting Hitch further down the order here. And it looks like that's going to be the session unless Hitch can somehow improve on his time. He's up 15 seconds. That's going to be your session. Wow, what a way to start the sprint race weekend here in Brazil, with a wet qualifying that turns dry with about 3 minutes to go and shuffles the grid order for this sprint race. What an exhilarating session. Definitely action all around, and going to be an interesting sprint race here as we only have 12 laps to sort out the order. Obviously, a lot less points being given out from the sprint race, and only 12 laps to do whatever you need to do on track. But there is your starting order. Cloud on pole. Obviously, the stats, we don't actually count sprint stats, so kind of a fake pole, as if you want to call it that. Cloud, Kryptonic, and Seth in P3, all above Hitch, who has not qualified any lower than second place, technically. Dismal in fifth, Lucid sixth. Scroll all the way down, and there's your drivers who did laps on intermediate tires. A definitive gap there. 3 seconds between the inter and the soft tire. And so definitely a difference in strategy, and needed to get a lap done on softs. But what a crazy qualifying session that is to start this race, and we'll see how it all shakes out in 12 laps here. What I wanted to do before we started this weekend was just go through the standings a little bit, just to remind everyone. So, in the Constructors' Championship, Alpine is leading behind Hitch, winning every single Grand Prix so far. So Alpine is P1, followed by Aston Martin, who has 54 points, tied with McLaren with 54. Red Bull has 37 points in fourth. Mercedes 33 points in fifth. Kick Sauber sixth with 31 points. And then it drops off into, maybe what you'd call the lower part of the field, where Haas and Ferrari are tied with 8 points. Racing Bulls has 5 points in ninth, and Williams has yet to score in 10th. And in the drivers, Hitch is P1 with 76 points, followed by Goat with 48, who isn't able to race tonight, so going to be a hit on him. And Heatley qualified all the way down in 14th, has 37 points in third. Cloud up at the top is fourth with 32 points. 31 for Kryptonic, Dismal with 22, Lucid with 20, Grunk with 13, Squatch with 8, and Yuppie, who also could not be here, with 7 to round out your top 10 of the Drivers' Championship. And yes, people are still trying to figure out when they can ready. I think it's been a minute. It's been good enough. We will see. Should see the drivers getting ready to start the formation lap here, as we see the countdown begin. And here we go on the formation lap, and this is definitely going to be entertaining here. A different front row than what we've seen before. Cloud back in P1 after last season, winning the Drivers' Championship. And let's see what tire everyone is on, as well as the lap data. Everyone on mediums except Hitch on the hards. Kryptonic is around and in the wall. Is he going to be able to turn it around? Damage is off on the formation lap, so it doesn't really matter if he slams into the wall, as long as he can keep it going and keep his tires warming up. And he does keep it on track. What a bit of a chaotic start here, as now you can see on the minimap, the top three are just far and away, and then we've got Dismal and Kryptonic, who are just driving the formation lap by themselves, and then we have the normal pack that we see here coming up behind as Lucid maybe strategically forming a gap and maybe thinking, well, we'll let their tires cool down once they get to the grid. Cloud already on that final straight, getting up to his grid box. He is not slowing down at all, and your tires definitely do change temperature here on the formation lap, as Cloud forms up to the grid now, and he's going to be up there and just be waiting for a little bit. Lucid not going extra slow, does get up to the grid and does get past. So quite the chaotic formation lap here. Let's hope turn 1 is a little more orderly, as we're going to stay on board with these front 4. Hitch starting in 4th on the hard tires. It's definitely going to be a tough position to start from, especially being on those hard tires. They definitely get the worst starts, as you could tell, just being the hardest compound. But here we go. 3, 4, 5 lights, and they're underway here. And we see the start from everyone looks pretty orderly, and Dismal already looking for a move, as Hitch maybe didn't get a great start, but only down 1 spot here, as we see a little bit of a chaos down through the first couple turns. But everyone makes their way through. It doesn't look like there's any contact, but it looks like Matt has had an issue, who's down 11 places, and now we see a Mercedes off the road there. That's Lucid now tumbling down the order. The bottom 4 have all lost out on a bunch of places, and Matt as well, but Matt did gain a lot of those places back from whatever just happened. I'm not sure that we picked it up on the camera here, but whatever happened there creates a gap now, as Dismal with an amazing start up 2 spots, passing Hitch and Seth, looking to maybe create a gap for his teammate here, or just be able to fight for the win with his teammate, as it looks like the McLaren team is en route to scoring good points, as Vivoda looks to have fallen off, and there's already a gap between 5th and 6th that is formed up, and now Cloud gets passed by Kryptonic for the lead here, as Kryptonic looks to make himself a gap and get in the clean air. But Cloud should have DRS here. He does, but Kryptonic, look at him just blast off into the distance there. DRS looking like it didn't even do anything there. Seth staying on the back of Dismal as well, as Dave does lead them through 6th, but is the front of this next train. Flame barely hanging on to DRS, and everyone has formed up in this tight train here down the order. Vivoda trying to catch up, but here we go at the front of the pack. Plenty of action everywhere in this field. I mean, look at the mini-map. Everyone tightly packed in here, and it looks like almost every driver has DRS. Dave and Josh are going to be the ones lacking DRS. Flame up 8 positions off the start. That's a great way to start your race. Squatch also up 6 places, firmly in that DRS train. We might see a move here. Cloud getting close, but not a move, and maybe a little bit of lockup there from Kryptonic, as Cloud is still following him close through this first couple turns and now into the DRS, and we see a nice helicopter shot. Again, it looks like the DRS isn't doing much, and Seth down the inside of Dismal. Dismal not looking to give the place up, gets a good exit, but on the outside just does not have the pace, and there we see Seth cruise by. A great director's camera view here of the action, and there Dismal goes in through Sector 2, and now going to be under attack a little bit from Hitch. A nice little cinematic view. I feel like you don't get that very often in F125. Dave now falling off a little bit more, 2 seconds, but does not have any driver behind with DRS. It's very close, but not yet. So he's not under a significant amount of pressure. Dismal might be falling under pressure to Hitch, losing 2 positions in the span of 1 lap, but he still holds on to DRS. But look at Hitch, as he's going to power around the outside. Dismal was thinking, well, Seth got the position down the inside, I'm going to cover that one off, and Hitch goes, all right, well, the outside's open, and he takes the position there. Kryptonic looks to be far enough ahead of Cloud to not be under fire, but Cloud still has DRS here as Seth looks to be inching up in this top 5 battle. They pulled away from Dave, so now what can they do? Flame up 9 spots, now the front of his DRS train. Gonna try and catch Dave here through Sector 2 and try and get in the DRS to protect himself from all the drivers behind, as literally every single driver down the field until 15th place with Gronk has the DRS, and Gronk might have damage from an earlier incident. He was I don't think it was him sideways. I think it was Lucid sideways, so maybe both of them involved in a little bit of an incident. Vivoda has caught up to Anime, who's fallen off the train a little bit. Caruso in his debut as well, down 4 places. Not the start that he would like to see, but not the end of the world in the sprint race. But these top 4, look at them just packed in. And Seth looking down the inside of Cloud. Cloud not giving it up, keeping the spot, but Seth is going to be ever so close now. But Cloud does stick in the DRS here, but Seth is going to go crazy down this straight and get the move done, as we do see a caution. Buddha goes down a spot on our timing sheet, and Caruso takes that place from him. Not sure what caused the caution there, but there definitely is a pack, if you can see on the minimap, that is far behind, and it is Caruso leading Buddha in kind of a pair, and then it's Gronk trying to catch up to the main DRS train that goes from 7th all the way down to about that 13th or 14th, and Gronk looks like he might be in the DRS. We've only done half of this race so far, and man, it has been entertaining, as Seth now trying to be the one to challenge Kryptonic, and Seth looking like he might have an advantage with whatever setup he is with the straight line, and Hitch now starting to feel those crossover period. The only driver on the hard tire looks like an extreme lockup on that front left, as Heatley also gets a move done up 5 places into 9th, needing one more spot to score in the sprint race. Only the top 8 score. Looks like Matt was the one that may have had the issue, down in 17th. These top 5 are packed in, but no moves yet, as we see Seth getting closer and closer to Kryptonic, and Hitch now has rapid pace on the hard tires in the sprint. I wonder if that'll affect his strategy in the feature race. Dave driving his own race in the sprint, 3 seconds behind 5th, and 2 seconds behind 2 seconds behind him is Flame, who's leading the DRS train. He's up 9 places, is very happy now. Josh would love to score a point after last week getting so close, but on the last lap getting overtaken. And Heatley is definitely right there, going to try and overtake him just like last week. It wasn't Heatley, but look at that train behind Josh, very eager to get by, as we don't see anyone up at the front moving positions here. And we do see Lucid up as Coach goes down, and Mel as well flipping positions, and Matt getting by Buddha. And look at these 3 very close going into turn 1. They all get through there nice and tidy, and Heatley looking for any kind of room. Flame with that 3-second penalty is going to kill him. He's going to go flying down the order here if they finish like this in the DRS train. Josh looking for any space and opens himself up to an attack from Heatley, who does get through. Josh was looking to the outside and didn't find enough space and didn't find enough grip, and Heatley came through down the inside. A little bit reckless from Josh, and now a 3-second time penalty for him, so he's going to be hurting, as well as Flame. These 3-second time penalties are going to cost them multiple positions. We see Hitch closing in on Seth, who's closing in on Kryptonic. Everyone's still in the DRS here. Cloud hanging around, as well as Dismal in 5th. Will we see a move from any of the leaders here? Hitch looking for a gap, does not find one, as Lucid also gets by Josh, but is now missing some DRS as we have another caution. The Williams flip positions here. We see Seth and Hitch battling, but no overtake done. Kryptonic still running, maybe a little close to track limits there up at the top. But these top three are breaking away from the McLaren pair that are running 4th and 5th. And they're going to hope to gain some time in Sector 2, be able to inherit some DRS, and maybe just lunge at an opportune time, or when someone gets a little over-ambitious in this top 3, maybe pounce on an opportunity to see a double podium in the sprint race here. Again, not the most amount of points, not the biggest of races, but still a great feeling for a good result, whether it's for a driver or for a team. Everyone is still racing just as hard. Another caution as we see some of the Williams drivers getting lapped, and Dave is off the track and now going to lose pretty much every place. He was racing by himself, no dirty air. We see a little bit of defense from Seth here, and now Cloud right on the back of Hitch, as Seth may be able to make a move here for first place, and he's going to get it done on Kryptonic, who slots back into second. Kryptonic has not had a lap where he hasn't led so far this race, and Seth takes it away into P1. Hitch is still going to have the advantage throughout the end of this race, so he's going to be eager to get the move done on Kryptonic, as Dismal and Cloud have flipped positions here in 4th and 5th. Dave now battling Caruso in the back, trying to get those positions back that he lost. He was in P6 running his own race, and now a little bit of a slide or maybe a half spin cost him the entire DRS train behind him, and now he's going to have plenty of work to do on tires that have probably been damaged pretty badly from that spin and from that dip in the grass, as Seth looks to be blasting away from Kryptonic. 7/10 the gap, and now it's closed up at the end of this DRS straight to 3/10. We've only got a couple laps here to go. We'll see if anyone can get the move done. Hitch is going to be very eager to get this move done, as Heatley and Flame battling behind them. Not going to go for it yet. Sees a blinking light, and you see Heatley and Flame going toe-to-toe. Heatley with the DRS is going to get the move done, but Flame is going to try and use Heatley to get out of that penalty range here, as Gronk and Josh down the order now side by side. Josh gets a little squirrely there, doesn't have any contact, but does lose the position. Josh getting battled very hard through this field, and now sliding and goes around, touching the grass, entering Sector 2, and that's disaster for him down in 15th. Just like the driver in front of him, Dave spun in Sector 3, and now he's down. The Haas pair in 10th and 11th now. Coach trying to fight back around the outside. Mel looking for a gap, not going to find one, and Caruso up into 11th has been battling back from the not greatest start, and does find his way up through the field. Back up to the top we go, as no moves were made down the front straight. We've only got 2 laps to go. We're only going to see the DRS a couple more times here. Hitch maybe sensing a little bit of desperation here, looking for anywhere on the outside, but doesn't find it. Kryptonic closes it off well, but now has a little bit of a gap down the inside, and Hitch goes through and does make the move stick here up into P2, and now is going to have to catch Seth on the final lap, the final 2 DRS zones of this sprint race. Dismal and Cloud looking for a mistake from these top 3, and maybe going to be able to battle Kryptonic, as we do see a caution in Sector 2. Not sure who went off. It's Flame, and he did DNF. That's a retirement from another driver who was leading that DRS train. It seems like there's a curse from around 5th place. As you can see, Seth maybe saving up enough battery, goes flying down this start-finish straight. The gap is about 5/10 now. 4/10 coming down. Is Hitch going to be able to find the traction here on these hard tires and go for a move? The final little piece of DRS. It looks like his battery is drained from that front straight, and he's not going to be alongside enough. Maybe going to be able to find a move through Sector 2 with the extra grip that the hards have provided, but I don't think that is going to happen. I don't think Seth is going to be very eager to allow that. As I say that, what just happened? As Seth maybe having a moment or two, and we have him alongside now, and Seth looking to fight it, and goes crashing down the inside. A little bit of contact there. Is he going to give the room? Doesn't look like Hitch is going to go for a lunge. He's going to rely on the DRS here. He has a full battery. They're pulling away from third place. It's just going to be the battle. It's going to be a photo finish between these two to the line. And it's 200s between them. The game couldn't calculate it either, but what a finish there. Kryptonic rounding out the podium of the sprint. The McLaren duo in 5th and 6th. We've got a bunch of drivers coming across the line now as we see an emphatic finish from Dave in 13th place. Matt down 7 spots in 14th. Josh, after that spin that we were on board for, in 15th. The Williams pair and Vivoda, very unlucky at the start, but it is going to get a place here. Battling Anime down the final straight, and he is going to recover 1 spot. But man, what a finish at the top there. And we can see all the cars slowing up and driving alongside each other. A little kumbaya moment here. And Seth does finish in 1st after an insane sprint race there. An insane last lap. I'm not sure what happened, as we're going to grab the race director here. But we do see the results here, and here are the gaps. 200ths were the difference between 1st and 2nd, which is only 1 point in the sprint race. As we see the gaps from everyone. And honestly, the Haas pair down the order, they were the first team out of the points, but were able to make up from, I think, qualifying 13th and 16th to finish 9th and 10th. So not a bad result from them either, all things considered. But we'll see now, back into a qualifying session. Rewire your brain, take a little bit of a breath. I certainly need one after that sprint session. Absolutely packed full of action up and down the field, and now the drivers can just take a little bit of a break, maybe wait a little bit in the garage before they come out and set their nice and peaceful qualifying lap. Looks like it's overcast but no rain, so we're going to have a dry qualifying, and if anything, it's going to be wet towards the end of the qualifying, so you'll want to get a lap done maybe a little earlier. But being overcast as well means that the track temperature is going to be a little bit lower, so the track evolution should be there. As the more cars and the more rubber gets on the track, the warmer it will be, as we do have Caruso leaving the session, and it looks like that may have disqualified him from even setting a time. Even if he does join back, I'm not sure what happened. We'll have to see if I can get a hold of him. Maybe another rough start for the rookie's first race, as now maybe unable to set a lap here. He's going to be starting from the back of the grid and already starting towards the back from that sprint race. As let's find someone to go on board with. Let's go on board with Josh. Let's pull up the lap data here. He's going to be one of the first drivers to set a lap. The Aston Martin's in front of him, and it looks like Coach in front of him as well is going to be able to set the first couple laps. All right, let's get an invite out. Okay, so we got the invite back, but don't know if that's going to help him get a time, as sometimes the AI decides just to retire you, as Josh is on the medium tires here. Not sure if that's going to be a common strategy or not. I mean, Gronk on the inters is definitely a little different, but everyone else looks to be on the softs. Going to be very unfortunate for Caruso if he's not able to rejoin and take control of the car, because that's going to almost certainly mean that he's starting in last. So you see Seth and Dave crossing the line, locking out the front row, and Josh does go P4 on those medium tires. Caruso has joined the session once again, and to his dismay, I think he's going to be in the spectator screen, just like me. Cloud looking like he set a purple sector 2. And he does follow that up with a purple lap. 107.7 from Cloud, back up into first, and Kryptonic, with a mistake on his lap, goes a 17.1. Heatley goes a 108.2. You know what? We can ride on board with Gronk on the inters. Looking to set a wonderful time on a completely dry track, as Buddha goes P6. He's going to actually do a lap time, and it's actually not going to be last. Kryptonic with enough of a mistake to give Gronk a not last position, qualifying on the wet tires when it's a completely dry. But you never know. I mean, we had a wet track and still had DRS, so you never know. Just got to give it a try sometimes, and it looks like it didn't really work out for him, as Kryptonic says, get me away from that psychopath Gronk on the inters, and goes P2. Social distancing himself away from Gronk on the timing board, but Lucid knocks him one spot closer. Vivoda also up into P7. What? I don't know what Pete's is saying. But I'm not sure. It looked like a cryptic message. Anime through Sector 2. Ferrari gets out of the way nicely. Looks nice and tidy so far. It says purple Sector 2 for Anime here. We'll see if that translates into a decent lap time for him. Doesn't look like that's the case as he goes a 1:10.9. Only good enough for 11th. Looks like Mel just finished his lap behind him, a 1:09.6. Squatch looks like the only Haas that's going to be able to participate in this qualifying session. His teammate appears to be guaranteed last. Squatch wrapping up his outlap. Apparently, I'm wanting to collaborate. Pizza would like to collaborate with the channel. Now is not the time. Man, this is so nice and relaxing to just watch qualifying times come across and just chill on board with one driver. And this is a break for me, as I'm sure it's a break for the other drivers as well. Dismal up into 5th. Squatch in 11th. I think the track map was lying, unless that was the worst Sector 3 of all time. Going purple in the first 2 sectors. Pizza, the sprint was won by Seth. Hitch was P2, only 200ths behind him. And Hitch looks to just have started his lap. You're welcome, is what Pizza's response to that was. Again, not sure if he's talking to me or whatever bot in the Twitch that's giving him messages. Hitch goes to purple sector 1. We have no idea if that's true or not, or if the track map's lying. But I think it has a slightly higher chance of being true with Hitch. Trying to set his first lap time of the session. Again, with the overcast weather, track evolution could play a part here, so we could see some faster times throughout the session. As Kryptonic goes a 107.719. Lucid also into P3, a 107.76. Very close at the top. Hitch a 107.85. Puts him 4th. And Gronk, not setting a time on the inters, is P9 with a 108.3. Looks like Flame also setting a lap and then throwing himself into the wall. This is quite an interesting onboard here. He does end up P10. Teammate right behind him. So everyone has done a lap time in this first part of qualifying, except Caruso, who was disqualified as soon as he left the session. Oh, sorry if I'm not being as entertaining. I'm reading through the Discord here as I'm getting a couple messages. Go on board with Dismal here. It looks like there's a grid penalty for someone. Collided with his teammate. And is now going to be 5 places lower because of that. Now Dismal, starting his lap, will go on board with him. Takes turns 1 and 2 nice and tidy, now all the way around this big left-hander, and he's not trying to set a time. He's giving the tires maybe an extra warm-up lap before he starts his last flying lap of the session, most likely. Anyone else? Coach might be on a lap. Just starting his lap here. We'll see what his Sector 1 time is. He needs definitely a bit of time to make up multiple places. And doesn't look like he's going to have it. Vivoda just getting done with Sector 1. Not sure if he's pushing or not. Only 300ths behind, or 3,000ths behind Josh. Only 200ths behind Matt. And 400ths behind Coach. So only needs to drop a 10th to be up about 3 positions. Do have a caution in front, just an Aston going a bit slow. Vivoda is down 2/10, so this should be good enough to see him in P11 if he kept that last turn nice and tidy. Looked like he did. And P10 goes a 108.6 and beats out 1 extra as he knocks Flame down out of the top 10 into P11. See if Matt can improve on his lap as well. Not even close. He's going to be doing warm-up lap and going on the next lap. Okay, maybe Dismal actually starting a lap? No? Did he just do one? Is he on a cooldown? I couldn't tell you. Yep. So that looked like it was his last lap. It looked like he dropped about 400ths. And it looks like he is just staying in 6th. Heatley on an out lap. Dave. So he's about to start his lap. No one moving too much yet, but we should see everyone starting their final lap here. As Heatley just starting his lap on new softs. See what his time is looking after the short Sector 1. Even with his first lap here. A little loose out of that corner, but catches it well. Takes these next couple turns aggressively. Hits the apex nicely. Maybe could have been a little more aggressive over that curb, but stays off of it to make sure he doesn't invalidate. Seth does go provisional pole now, 107.4. The session is over. Dismal, the only one in Q3, quote unquote, that has finished. Heatley does a purple sector 2. Kryptonic on provisional pole now with a 107.3. Heatley going to try to do better than that. Isn't going to be able to, but does put himself 5th. A good time for him. Lucid was up 0.2. Cloud is way off the pace. Seth also on a cool down lap. Hitch, let's see what time he can find in sector 2 here. Gets a little loose on that curb. And there are some Mercedes right in front of him. And he has to abort his lap now. And it's only going to be good enough for P6. Looks like Gronk may have impeded there, and that's going to be the session. Kryptonic on pole. Wow, I would have thought that there was maybe going to be a time to contest him at the top too, but no. That is going to be Kryptonic's first pole position in Can-Am, and let's hope that it can translate into a possible win for him. Again, would be his first. Not sure if he's gotten a podium or not, now that I'm thinking about it. I think it may have just been 4th or 5th. Why are we going into far chase cam? Probably the camera angle that Matt actually uses now. He said he fixed it, quote unquote. But now Kryptonic in P1. Seth P2, but with a grid penalty. Not sure what happened there. Cloud P3, Lucid P4, and Heatley P5. Hitch all the way down into P6. Did not improve on that last lap. So he's going to be starting further down the grid than even he did in the sprint. And Caruso going to be looking to try and make as many moves as he can early to get up through the field. And did explain it's his first race here that he maybe thought there was going to be the braking line, the corner racing line, but no, we run no assists in Tier 1. And just actually made that switch. I think this season or last season that was full no assists. I think it was last season was our first no assist Tier 1. So it's been that way for a little bit. And we've definitely enjoyed the racing and some of the moments that it's brought, and it's definitely brought out the best in everyone, and I think everyone can appreciate what these drivers can do on no assists. And it definitely is an impressive just how fast these drivers can go while, again, being on no assists, and especially in the mixed conditions and the rain and stuff. That is where it can get hard, and where that traction control, you can really see an advantage there. But these guys still manage to be just as fast, if not faster, than the other tiers. sure everyone is ready to get the session underway, as sprint weekends are quite longer. And can't imagine if they were doing full qualifying how long the session would be. 2 full qualifying sessions. But we're excited to get more than 12 laps of racing. Hopefully it's just as action-packed as it was in the sprint. I'm going to fold my mic up, get something to drink, and maybe rest my voice for about 2 minutes while the drivers go around the track in a formation lap. And we'll be underway after that. Stay tuned for the feature race in Brazil. Should have some great action for you, and definitely a lot of different strategies here. And here we go on the formation lap. Just came back in time to see them taking turn 1. Here is the tire strategy. About 50-50 split. On the hard tires, there's actually only 6. So not 50-50. There goes Seth or David into P1. Not sure why it's so hard to maintain position on the formation lap, but alright. We see the Aston Martins on the hards, Gronk and Lucid. So the Aston Martin, Mercedes, and Mel and Buddha think it is the better strategy to start on the hard tires versus everyone else starting on the mediums, and it'll definitely be interesting to see who can do the 1-stop versus who is going to 2-stop. Kryptonic trying to get those tires nice and warm, trying to keep them warm for a good start, as Cloud disqualified, so does Kryptonic. So big disadvantage for them off the line, and Lucid gets nice and close in that grid box. Five lights, and away we go here as we start this Grand Prix. And Lucid with that upper hand, with being able to park it in the grid box, now side by side for the lead, isn't going to get the job done, but is going to be very close. And Cloud and Dismal in 4th and 5th, now battling Heatley up at the top as Kryptonic leads, and still side by side Cloud and Heatley basically forced to go off the track there, as we see a couple of drivers tumbling down the field again. There's your position changes. Everyone's still relatively close here. as David is the one down 6 positions. So again, an unlucky start there. Dismal again up 3 spots off the start. He's been the master of the starts here in Brazil. Up 2 spots on the sprint and now up 3 as the DRS train all the way through the field, but no DRS on the first lap. Cloud looking for a move on Lucid, isn't going to get the job done here. And it looks like Caruso has damage early. He's going to have to pit it off. Lucid keeping P2 off that great start. And Kryptonic now trying to break DRS. Just over a second, but is going to need a great Sector 2 to keep everyone behind. And still the field is very bunched up behind. No moves are being made. Everyone waiting for the DRS here. So all the way down the order, definitely have a couple different stories. Mel down 3, Matt down 1. Must be a track that he has been struggling with. He's been fighting for the points and I think snagged a point last week, but now finds himself in P17, trying to maybe play the long game and just hang around long enough, as David is now out of DRS by 2 seconds. And right there you can see Heatley going for a move on Cloud and does get the move done, and Hitch is right there looking for an opening as well. Around the outside here, Cloud gives him a bit of space. Side by side through the Heron. Hitch maybe ran out of room on the outside. Side by side, hard racing. We do have a caution. It looks like it's cleared up as David is down even more positions, maybe dealing with a bit of damage there, as he is just hemorrhaging his delta to Mel in 15th. But Hitch stays in 5th. Heatley gets the move done, and now Cloud's down 2 spots. Dismal still hanging around. Probably content to stay behind Hitch, but Seth possibly going to be able to go for a move at some point with the pace that he's shown. As we see another move in the top 3, Heatley gets by Lucid, and Hitch getting by Cloud, and we see Dismal around. Not sure what happened, if there was contact, but we saw it at the very end of our screen there as we were looking up through the battles. And Dismal is around at turn 1, and that's going to send him down the order. Everyone gains a position there. I know touching the grass at any point, or maybe the outside of the track limit, can definitely hurt the tire a little bit, give it a lot less grip all of a sudden, but not sure that there's anywhere off the track that really does that at turn 1, so I'm thinking there may have been a little bit of contact there that sent Dismal around. Disappointment for him, but still a long ways to go here, down in P13, and if he doesn't have damage, hopefully he can just keep it going and see if he can make these positions back as no one moves up in front here. Gronk closing in on Cloud. Cloud just plummeting down the order here. Not sure what is happening, but he definitely does not seem the fastest at this stage in the race. Definitely not on his qualifying form, but still hanging in to this top train. Just has been the one losing out on all these positions. As we see Caruso with 10 seconds of penalties, probably from speeding in the pit lane there. So we can see the positions changed here. And Kryptonic has broken the DRS here. So we'll see if he can extend that gap, but it looks like Heatley is doing everything that he can to get back in the DRS here. 1.1, he's almost out of the DRS of Lucid, who's under attack from Hitch. Looking for a gap here down the inside. Is going to stay along. A little bit of contact there from Lucid. And it looks like he's going to hang on to that P3 as he is definitely a lot closer to Heatley. It must have been a mistake somewhere from Heatley as it looks like Hitch left the door open for Seth and now he's alongside here. Nothing happening though as Hitch keeps the position going through Sector 2. Heatley was almost 1.5 seconds behind, now has made up a little bit to 1.3, 1.2 now. Kryptonic making the best that he can of that clean air out in front, trying to hold off the field as the top two are on those medium tires. Lucid is the highest position on the hard tires. So it'll be interesting to see how those strategies mix as Seth looking around the outside, Hitch defending the inside, and Seth not going to be alongside here. As Hitch gets close to Lucid and Seth right behind him. Maybe going to look for a move here as he's got the straight line speed down the inside once again. And Hitch is going to pretty much let him by that corner. Not going to fight it too hard. And Seth gets through up into P4. Heatley 1.8 now behind the DRS, and Squatch driving his own race in 9th, 6 seconds away from the DRS train in front of him. That spans from 2nd to 8th. Josh holding on to that final points position, but he has his own DRS train to work with as Dismal looking to get back up, claw his way back through the field, get back up into that top train after that moment a couple laps ago. The first driver to pit is Cloud, getting off those mediums after only 7 laps, I think. Excuse me. So Cloud is going to be on a different strategy than everyone, trying the undercut and hopefully going to be able to find a gap here. Got some battling up at the front. It looks like Hitch maybe got by Lucid. Either got by or was defending a bit as well. Seth getting a move done on Heatley. We didn't notice that, and now Kryptonic out in front is leading by 2.8 seconds on the medium tires as well. Seth should have an advantage at this stage in the race, being on the hard tires, and Heatley definitely struggling as well. We saw Cloud start to fall down the order and maybe coming for Heatley as we see a caution in Sector 2. Looks like Caruso at the back struggling as Hitch goes into the pits. Does well to slow down for the pit limiter line and not pick up a penalty. Squatch continues on. Everyone else is continuing on as Dismal gets by that train of drivers that was holding him up a little bit. Squatch still in front of him, but Vivoda and Josh now behind, and Vivoda did pick up a place on Josh as well, who still, after all the shuffling, is in that 10th position, trying to get that 1 point that can be so elusive. But even 1 point, every point is a feat in Tier 1. You never know when the next point could come, as the field is so competitive throughout the entire 20 drivers. Seth 2.5 trying to bring the gap down to Kryptonic. He might be under fire from Heatley. We have another caution. And it looks like Dismal may have gotten out of shape again, as he now is behind Vivoda, Josh, and Dave now, who picks up another spot because Josh is the next person into the pits. So the top drivers still have not pit. Matt, the only one. Matt and Josh now changing off his tire. Caruso had to pit at the very beginning of this race. Hitch gets a place on Mel, who probably isn't going to fight that move very hard. Maybe he fought it a little too hard, as he let Matt come through, and now Cloud takes advantage of that little moment and gets by. But Cloud not being able to be in front of Hitch is a little telling of maybe this undercut. You would think he would be in front because the undercut is so strong in F1 games, but not able to, and is still battling here with Matt. Does get by him. Gronk and Flame both pit on the same lap, and now Lucid gets by Heatley on the hard tires, and Heatley might be looking to fight this, but Kryptonic again out in front. Great pace from him, 2.8 now. The gap between him and second, and he is on the marginally worse tire at this stage of the race. We'll see who's going for a one stop and who's going for a two stop. I think the mediums being able to last into the double digits of laps means that you could almost get a one stop. It's going to be tough on the hard tires, that is for sure. But anything is possible. I think the gap that you need to see is 19 seconds to be able to net a position. And yeah, Kryptonic's tires are starting to fall off as he's lost almost a full second this lap to Seth behind. And maybe that's going to pressure him to come into the pits, but not this lap, as he stays out and continues on his way. Seth behind. Lucid is going to pit off on the hard tires. So he is definitely going on a two-stop strategy. Squatch is going to pit off his mediums at lap 12, making them last pretty much as long as you can. There's no pit limiter sign, so that is definitely confusing. Lucid and Squatch in for the pits this lap. It's like every lap someone new comes in, and there's the stops now, as we're going to need this. A couple drivers still have yet to stop. Mel and Anime still yet to go into the pits. Looks like Anime might be going in as I speak. So Mel, Buddha, Dismal still yet to go into the pits. Dave and Vivoda up in P5 and 6 have yet to go in. We're on board with Dave. And the top three have yet to stop, but I assume we'll see Heatley stop with the amount of time that he's hemorrhaging. Hitch does go on to the hards, but I think almost everyone that's stopped already is going to be on a two-stop. I might be wrong. I might be crazy. We'll see what they can do on these hard tires, but I know at the end of the hard tires lives, they start to lose time like crazy. We'll see if these drivers are able to tire save, but it is definitely going to be tough as we see Heatley and Vivoda into the pits. Seth and Kryptonic out at the front, not really seeing much of each other. Still a 2-second gap. Kryptonic extending those mediums as long as he can. That clean air doing wonders, as Lucid is going to look up the inside versus Cloud, and Cloud with a couple laps older on those tires, not going to fight that move too hard, and especially with the one lap medium tires of Lucid, knows better than to fight that. Is just going to hopefully take the DRS and watch Lucid try and breeze by Dave. But yeah, a lot of different strategies here, as Lucid already eager to get the move done, but is not going to be able to find a place. A little bit of contact there, maybe looking for a switchback, and now Cloud maybe going to stick his nose in, but Obviously thinks better if it breaks a little early here. Lucid with the traction here. We have a caution in Sector 1. Kryptonic does pit. And now Dave dives into the pits. Seth and Hitch are going to be at the front of the field now. As Lucid is going to look to get on with it. Hopefully break the DRS behind him. And we'll see where Kryptonic comes out here, right in the middle of this mess without DRS. And this is not going to be good for his race, as he needs to clear this traffic as quick as he can. The hard tires certainly warm up a little faster in dirty air. So right in the thick of it, Cloud in front of him. All the strategies meshing together and figuring themselves out as we carry on this Brazil Grand Prix. Kryptonic out in 5th, gonna have the DRS, and wouldn't assume that Gronk is going to be attacking him, as he's had quite the straight line speed all race week. As Seth boxes for the medium tire. Is Kryptonic going to hold on to his spot here? We see him in the traffic, and yes, it looks like Seth is coming out, and he's going to be behind a couple cars in between them here, as he's not able to get the move done on Cloud. But Seth now behind Flame and Gronk, needing to make up those positions, and Heatley is going to be right behind him, possibly looking to attack. As Dismal falls into P18 from his stop. And now everyone has made a stop except Mel out in 9th place. So this should be more or less the order. Caruso, the only one who is a little interesting since he pit so early. 13 lap hards, and David going to be trying to find a way past him very soon as he can. And there's your positions. Just a quick glimpse at that. We'll throw up the tires back onto your screen as Mel on these 14 lap hards. You can see how much he's struggling on there, as Cloud does pick up a penalty, and we need to put those up on the screen. So we're going to see if Mel pits, and he does. There's your penalties, as Squatch does go by Mel, and Kryptonic still in this little train, as in front of him he sees Lucid overtake Cloud. So we see the penalties. We haven't been getting the warnings from the track, so we haven't been seeing like provisional pole updates or penalty updates or something, so I'm just kind of having to keep up with it, and the penalties just kind of randomly appear. So Lucid has a 10-second time penalty up at the front. That is not going to do him any good. Cloud with 3 seconds is going to cost him a couple positions as it stands. Josh with 3 seconds, not going to help him score any points. Caruso with 13 seconds, that is definitely not good, as Matt looking for a way by him as well. Buddha with 3 seconds, and Anime with 3 seconds as well. And we'll probably see a couple more start to pop up, as Kryptonic now going for a move, maybe going for 2. And he does, as Lucid right on his tail. But keeps it nice and clean, and is now 5 seconds behind Hitch with a 5-lap tire advantage. And he is going to look to just stay ahead of this DRS train and maybe push Lucid out of the DRS so that he's not under any pressure. Lucid, Cloud, and Seth all behind. Seth getting by Gronk. Now Heatley is going to definitely be looking for a way by. So you see down the field, everyone else driving a little bit more of a peaceful race. Flame with an 11-second gap, 2-second gap in front of him. Squatch with an 11-second gap and a 5-second gap, so definitely driving by himself right now. And Vivoda in 10th as well. This battle for 10th that I've been hyping up has not been very close this race, as they all have quite the gaps on each other. So we see Seth get by Cloud, and now maybe going to look for a move on Lucid, who leaves the door open fully on the inside, but Seth not far enough alongside. But with younger tires like that, he goes around the outside and is able to just power through. Cloud looking around the outside, almost touching the grass here, as we're side by side with Lucid, and Lucid's going to hold on to that position as Heatley, right behind all of them, gets by Gronk. And this is kind of the train that you see the battle, as Seth is able to clear it all. As we do see Lucid off the track, we just saw his name tumbling down the order. And that is correct. He had a moment and lost all those positions, and now is out of DRS from the train that he was basically leading a couple laps ago. Out of that, as Dave loses a position to Josh for P11. Looking to fight it back, has the younger tires in that battle. Seth with the youngest tires towards the top. 4-lap mediums, but mediums do not last very long here in Brazil, and Kryptonic on 5-lap hards. Definitely has the door open for whatever strategy he wants to do. He's only 3.5 seconds behind Hitch. Will he be able to extend long enough to make a one-stop work, or will he come in and maybe have to battle a couple people? Came out in traffic, and that definitely hurt him, as we see Caruso battling a bit down here with Buddha and Matt, getting a little loose there on his old hard tires. But keeping it clean, no contact here between these three drivers. No moves being made down that DRS straight here. But definitely some of our closest battles, and down the field, Dismal trying to figure out how to get by all these drivers towards the bottom of the field. Still in 17th after a couple yellow flags for him. Just not his race so far, as we do see him move towards the top of the grid. Heatley getting by Cloud on the better tires, but the crossover period, those tires are probably going to be even. And we'll see if Cloud can fight back. He does have a penalty, so it does make everything a little different, and it's a safety car. Buddha has retired from the session in an incident somewhere, and there's going to be a safety car here. And this is basically going to be the territory where you can just throw on, if you have a set of hards, throw on the hard tires and just go to the end. Hitch into the pits. We'll see what Kryptonic does. He's into the pits. Seth staying out on medium tires. I have no idea what that decision is about. Everyone into the pits. If they have a 10-second time penalty, it gets to be served, and this is just ideal for practically everyone. We'll see what Squatch wants to do. He decides to pit as well, and we'll see what tire everyone puts on. We're going to probably get around 12 or 13 laps of racing, so the mediums should last. But you got to remember, the medium tire is what everyone ran in the sprint, and it barely lasts towards the end of that stint. And that's exactly the same situation that we're going to see from these medium runners. I think Seth's decision not to pit here is going to be a costly one. Josh as well electing not to pit on 11-lap old hards. There's no way he gets those to the finish. Caruso on 19-lap hards, even less of a chance that those get to the finish. So, a couple drivers that did not pit, and they're going to be suffering on this restart. Not just on the restart, but on this last stint of the race. So the order is shuffled up a bit. Seth in P1, but Hitch with 0 lap old hards. Essentially still going to be 0, regardless of what the tire life says, because all these laps under safety cars are not going to put any wear on the tires. So we're going to see how many laps of racing we get left. And Kryptonic, this is just a sad turn of events for him. I think he had the strategy down, was maybe going to be able to go for the one stop, and now is forced to put on the medium tire, probably just because of the compounds available. We'll see how he's able to do in this final stint, but it's definitely going to be interesting here. Gives life to a lot of these drivers here who maybe thought they were out of it. And we'll see how it unfolds. As there's some of the penalties, some track limit penalties for a couple drivers. 2 have a 10-second time penalty. I wonder if they will elect to pit those off now. We'll see if anyone who didn't pit before will pit off for just new tires or getting rid of their penalties, as we see some of the tire ages here. As yes, we see Caruso go into the pits, and I wonder if he's able to serve his 10-second time penalty. We'll see if it's early enough in. Yes, he will serve his 10-second time penalty. I didn't know if you could do that under safety car, but yes, you can. But he'll have a little bit of new life here, being able to be with the field. Getting rid of that 10-second time penalty is big, and just getting on new tires and being able to be on the same strategy after pitting on lap 1. Dave is asking Goat to engineer him, as he's on 9 lap mediums. Don't think there's much to engineer. It's just over. Don't think those medium tires are going to last to the end for either Aston drivers. Look at the Tier 1 chat. No. Then join voice chat. No. We're focused on commentating here. Looks like the safety car is in. Again, we don't get these banners that actually tell us what's going on during the race, so we just have to play it by eye. But we can see the safety car dart off down the field, and on board with Hitch and Kryptonic maybe looking to go as Seth decides to go, and Kryptonic and Hitch get away, and then there's a huge gap between them and 5th. No moves being made in the top 4. But now this cluster, and we see Josh go off on those old tires. Anyone on these old tires are going to be absolutely suffering down this section. No DRS yet. We don't see any moves done in the top 4. Flame getting by Cloud for 6th, and Squatch going to be eager to get by Dave, which it looks like he will be able to do. We do have a caution in Sector 1 as there's a huge crash. I heard it. It's Lucid who goes down the order, and now we've got some side-by-side here with Josh and Bavoda, but Josh just not able to find any grip on these old tires and is not going to be able to make it to the end here. just lost out on basically every spot on just one lap. Dismal fighting back after his grueling race so far, only down a position from where he qualified, and he should be able to get the move relatively easy on Dave, who is on older tires. Seth still holding first, but we'll see for how long he'll be able to. As Squatch now, 2 drivers in front of him have penalties, he'll be happy to just stay right behind them and inherit those places, as Dismal, as I was talking about how easy that move should be, gets it done. And now on the hard tires, the top of the field, aside from Seth, is all on the hards or the medium tires, looking to go into the end. The mediums will be faster for the next couple laps, but the hard tires should see a crossover period within probably the last 3 laps of this race, so it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens and look at how close everyone is racing up here. Seth just going as defensive as he can, but I don't think is going to be able to hold off the train for much longer. So we go down the front straight, and DRS is going to be active for Hitch and Kryptonic as well. On those medium tires, is Kryptonic going to be able to go for a move? Hitch down the inside, Kryptonic as well. Staying side by side with Seth, now getting pushed to the outside. As Josh retired from the session, are we going to see another safety car? No, I think he retired into the pits. Kryptonic down the inside, not going to be able to make a move as Josh has left the session after not pitting on that safety car. Proved to be the wrong decision. Seth outside a little bit, but Heatley not going to be able to take advantage of it. Kryptonic and Hitch both getting by Seth on that lap, and I think more will be coming from behind Seth. As you can see, just the train and the drivers in front are already starting to pull away from Seth as he has been holding up this field a little bit on these old tires. But it's just about who can get a good drive in the DRS zone. And Kryptonic trying to fight back, keeping up with Hitch a little bit. And still does stay in the DRS. The medium versus the hard on the front two, as we see positions flip as Dismal gets by Squatch, who's maybe willing to just follow Dismal into battle in these top couple positions. Still in the top train. Everyone in DRS as now Heatley does get by Seth. Seth going to have less grip throughout the lap. That means less straight line speed, especially when the tires start to deg. It definitely loses you time on straight line. Don't know how realistic that is, but it is definitely true from the practice that I was doing yesterday. So the top 3 are now by Seth. Seth just trying to play enough defense to hold on to the points position, but it's definitely an uphill battle. His teammate Dave, all the way down in 16th, needed to pit for new tires. And Cloud and Flame definitely going to be hurting because of these penalties. 3 seconds, probably going to cost them each a couple positions as Gronk now gets by Seth. And now Flame is the next customer to be behind Seth on these hard tires. And we'll see how easy or hard this move can make, as we do have a move for the lead. Kryptonic gets by. Flame goes down the inside and invites Cloud to come follow, and Dismal as well. He's going to be the next person in the next couple laps to get by Flame. But Kryptonic taking the lead from Hitch, proving that these medium tires do have pace, but now he's got to play defense pretty hard on both drivers behind who have the hard tires and are going to have the advantage a little later in this race. But this is going to be a great finish for the top 3, and Gronk might even make it a top 4 if he can get in this battle. We see that Kryptonic maybe had a little bit of a moment coming down out of that final corner. Hitch looking for a move, is forced around the outside and might be able to make it stick. It's going to be side by side here through the first two corners. Kryptonic staying on that inside, but Hitch is going to have DRS and he's going to be able to fight. Kryptonic's going to force him the long way around once again here into the end of this DRS, and yes, Hitch retakes the lead now. Kryptonic still ahead of Heatley, though, and look at this top three. It couldn't get any tighter between these three drivers, and Gronk, if he puts together a good second sector, should be within the DRS here and should be able to pick it up. And he already is, not 9/10 around, and if he can keep that gap, he should have DRS down the front straight, which is going to be a big advantage. We didn't see what happened with Seth. He did pit for the soft tires, so he decided to give up on his conquest to stay out on those old mediums and pit for softs, likely taking the fastest lap, but I'm not going to be able to see the little message that comes up. Gronk did not end up getting the DRS. The front three still remain in the same position, and will Kryptonic be able to complete another move or have the hard tires finally hit the crossover period, and will they be blasting off as here comes Heatley looking down the inside, but nothing there for him, as now Gronk is slipping further and further from these top three, and now just going to be hoping that something happens that can knock them down towards him. Squatch has fallen away from Dismal, who is now on track for a better race finish than what his qualifying position was, which didn't seem to be the case earlier in this race, but he's right now going to finish in P5 because of the penalties in front of him. So what an outstanding race from Dismal, never giving up on the race and getting lucky with a safety car that ended up helping him tremendously to get up back into the field and score today, as we do see a caution. That's Lucid, who does retire. So another DNF. We've got three, and you can see the battling in front of Dismal as now he's caught up to the pack, and Cloud has gotten by Gronk, who has a blinking ERS light. Flame looking down the inside, not going to do anything, maybe just playing a little bit of defense. We do still have a caution in Sector 1, and that's just going to be Lucid's corpse coming out of the pits. And I will say the Haas team as well, looking for a double points finish. Caruso, again, after not being able to qualify, has found himself in 9th, but with that penalty, it would drop him out of the points currently, so needs something to happen. Might need a little bit of defense from his teammate, but we'll keep an eye on that battle down here. Still riding on board with Dismal, as looks like Hitch has pulled away from the second and third position. Kryptonic's mediums finally starting to give out here. He's given it everything that he's got. And again, that safety car probably just proving did not help him in the strategy call at all. Was probably looking to go for a one-stop, and that was foiled as soon as the safety car came out. The gap is down to 1.4, but I think the hard tires at this stage of the race will be a bit faster. He's still able to keep Heatley behind, but Hitch in the clean air this season has been very dominant. Only 200ths separated him in the sprint win, and now extending that a lot further than 200ths right now, out of the DRS range and into the clean air. Heatley's going to look for a way by Kryptonic, but Hitch looking to make it 4 for 4 on the season and continue his dominant run. Heatley with the DRS open. Kryptonic has been good down the straight all race. No move here. We do have a caution, and that's Mel. Look to have a moment as the Haas teammates do switch positions here, and I wonder if there will be a little bit of a team game trying to hold Vojvoda back out of penalty range, as there's no contest behind from Matt. So the points position should be sorted at this point, as Mel does retire from the session into the pits. Our 4th retirement. That's probably the most that we've seen in Tier 1 this season in a single race. And it looks like Coach is the ghosted Alpine, the lapped Alpine on your screen. I was a little confused as to who that might be. I thought Hitch might have disconnected for a second. Heatley right on the back of Kryptonic here for the second step on the podium. Is he going to be close enough to make the move into turn 1? He's gaining little by little, is not even going to look for a move here. And Hitch extending that gap further and further. 2.2 now. Was 1.3, I think, just one lap ago. Heatley trying to find a move, does not. There's Mel's car retiring off to the right of your screen. And Heatley could not find a way past here, as Dismal has gotten past all the penalties in 5th place and might even finish in 4th if he can beat his teammate out. Needs about a half second to get within penalty range, and they're equals right now on 13-lap Old Hards. These medium tires starting to die off. The Haas teammates trying to play a little bit of a team game, possibly with Vojvoda. Looks like there may have been a little bit of a moment here from Seth, as Matt stays in 11th. Caruso needing to pull 3 seconds from at least Vojvoda to keep Haas in the same scoring position. We'll keep an eye on that as we focus on whether or not Heatley is going to be able to make the move on Kryptonic. Still no, maybe saving it for a specific lap or not. Dismal still about 5/10 behind. Flame running away from Gronk, but Gronk well within penalty range. Caruso trying to get out of that DRS from Squatch, who is out now. So add Squatch and Vojvoda's intervals. It's about 1.5. He needs to find 1.5 seconds, Caruso does, to pull out that penalty, at least from Vojvoda. We'll see if Haas is truly playing the team game or what is happening. Seth down in 12th, going to try and make the move on those soft tires. And then we have the Williams of Anime, Dave after his pit stop and disaster from the safety car, and Coach, who has a lap down. We see Kryptonic starting the final lap here. Heatley, this is his last chance to get by with the DRS. Doesn't get a great exit, and look at how fast Kryptonic goes. He is not willing to mess around on this last lap. He's looking like he's going to be able to finish in second, barring any kind of penalty or any kind of mistake on the final lap. But Hitch, after seeing his lowest qualifying spot of the season, fights back, and this race was by no means easy. Fights back, gets a good safety car that keeps him net P1, and is going to be able to take home the victory here in Brazil and take home nearly a full points for the sprint. Now Kryptonic and Heatley coming across the line here. Will Heatley be able to get the job done? No. Kryptonic is going to hold on to P2 after starting pole. Cloud going to finish in P4. Dismal in P5, Flame P6, but is going to lose his penalty to Gronk, who ends up P6. Caruso in 8th, does hold off Vojvoda in 9th, but Squatch does lose the position to Vivoda and maybe trying to play the team game a little too much. Maybe a little too defensive there. So we got a race to the line here, and it looks like Seth does get the move done by 400ths, but it doesn't look that close because of a 3-second penalty. Seth does get P11. Matt and P12. Anime to the line with 16 seconds of penalties. Dave's going to take this position on track easily. As Anime comes across the line in 13th. Just grateful to finish this race as Dave comes home 13th as well. So 13th and then 14th for Anime, scoring decent points for the President's Trophy if you were able to finish this race. A little bit of a chaotic race from that safety car on lap 20. Definitely benefited some drivers and harmed some other drivers' strategies, as Kryptonic does fall down to take second, and not a bad result at all for him. But after pole and after leading that first stint up until that safety car, you would have thought he was definitely the favorite to win this race. And there are your gaps of the race. We will grab the race director just in case any of the stewards need it. So you can see plenty of invalidations. And then there is your points breakdown of the weekend. Can-Am does score the races exactly like real life, except the fastest lap point. We give the fastest lap point, which goes to Seth on the softs. In the sprint, I don't think there's a fastest lap point. At least we have never given one out. But there's Hitch scoring a full 32 points and Kryptonic 24, making use of the sprint weekend. Definitely. And Hitch, once again, wins the race, goes 4 for 4. To answer your question, Ago, in the chat, what happened to Seth? Seth and David did not pit on a lap 20 safety car. So 16 laps to go from lap 20. And they were already on about 5 lap-old mediums, and I think the other one was 6 or 7 lap-old mediums. So they fell down the order pretty quick when pretty much every single other car pit. And those are the retirements we pretty much saw. So we saw that Josh ended up retiring after he didn't pit on the safety car. Both the Aston Martins finished, but they did not finish where they were for the entire race. And I think there was 1 or 2 other ones that did not pit and ended up paying the price for it and fell down the order pretty quick. Brazil truly turned out to be a tough track on tires. So it was definitely interesting to see how the drivers handled that, and it was definitely an interesting race from that lap 20 safety car. Unfortunate for Buddha, who was running probably his best race, but it's good to see him get used to no assists and, seeing him improve from, being lapped a couple times in Hungary, I'm pretty sure, to now being in that DRS train, fighting for position all over the field today, and just an unfortunate DNF, but definite improvement from him, and it's good to see. And all these guys just are rapid, so it's always good to see, who can score points and who can battle for that extra position in P12 and 13, and even sometimes further down the order in P17 and 18 are fighting tooth and nail to the line. So it's awesome to see what these guys can do. And at this point in the season, week 4, there's no more driver switches between tiers allowed, except if it's by trade. So drivers on the same teams will not be able to switch tiers. So you should be seeing pretty much the same roster throughout the season. We've had some changes. A couple different full-time drivers did retire. They have been replaced. So there are still 20 drivers on every grid. I'm definitely happy to see that, and it's been a good flow of drivers in and out of the league, so I hope that this 20 can keep showing up for races. We were only missing one today, and hopefully Yuppie is back next week. Missed out on a lot of points for the sprint race. So hope to see you next week, but thank you for tuning in for this little bit of a longer stream here for the sprint weekend in Brazil. Next week will just be a normal race, so it won't be as long as this one, and I hope to see you there. It'll be next Wednesday, same time as always, 9 p.m. Eastern. But thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this later, thank you for watching to this point of the video. And I hope you have a great night or a great whatever time you're watching this. And I hope to see you tune in next week.